Alright, so today's gonna just be kind of slightly speedrunning some Genki. Let's see, kana, starting with some kana practice to start, and then make a few more for Genki stuff. So Genki 25, 22, 1. Alright, hopefully 4 screens should be good for most of what I want to do today. And I'll start off with my kana practice, and maybe today will be the day that I manage to get everything. Okay, yeah, I think if I'm doing this daily, I should be able to do it much more easily. A, I, U, E, O. Now the question is, am I going to be able to pull these out when I'm actually writing stuff out? Because when you do this kind of repetition practice, it can be pretty easy to like get into the flow too much. So like just defaulting to, oh, I know that these letters are supposed to be grouped together, because that ends up making it a lot easier to just get away with not actually really knowing it down to brass tacks, but kind of knowing it within a context. It's like the repetition versus recall, that kind of stuff. When you're learning something, you want to be able to recall the information without having a like basis around it, without any like context around it, just being able to pull it out. So this one should be rounded, a bit more rounded. I think I had double dots last time, so it's actually just one single dot. And then if I want to make it a ga, then I would add the 2 dots. Kaku, kaki, key first. Ku. Now I don't know if you can hear it, but I have my fan running because it's a bit too hot today. I really don't like the feeling of like coming out of a shower and okay, this one I need to figure out if it's left or right as well. Coming out of the shower and I start like, yeah, I just feel uncomfortable because it's too warm. Because even if you're in like water, like at a pool or something, it's not like you stop sweating just because you're surrounded by water. You're still sweating, but you don't feel it as much because, I mean, you're surrounded by water and it's just going to pick it up. And that's why it's so important to like stay hydrated when swimming as well. Oh. Mami, not gonna forget it this time. Mu, me, mo, mo, momo, peach. Like Momotaro, the children's book. Because of the frequency of my streams, is it this? Should be this way, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but once I get further into my Japanese learning, I plan on reading some children's books or children's stories that are like I at the time had found like these open source um, copies of these readings, so that would really help. De, de, yo, wa, wo. I did find that like with Chinese, considering the fact that I didn't like learn it all that properly when I was young, um, whenever we went into those like Chinese bookstores and I went into the children's section, I actually could not read the children's books whatsoever. Well, okay, I knew more than half the characters, but like I didn't know enough in order to put it all together. Um, because I guess depending on how you're taught, you'll get different amounts of handholding in terms of how to read. So like when I first started learning, um, they had us learn Bopomofo, which is kind of like the 36 letter alphabet for Chinese. It's a bit better than reading the romanization because romanizations can be pretty different. So like the Japanese ones or the Korean ones that I pointed out on previous streams. While there's not much ambiguity when you actually use a language's alphabet by itself. So with Bopomofo, if I had the Bopomofo, then I could read anything. The 36 letters are not that hard to remember, like the kana. But then you have the kanji itself, right? And that's where things get dicey. Oh, so is sewing needle. Okay. Ta. Tidal wave. Chi. Should be a little curve to it. Tsu. Te. To. So that's knowing how to read the Bopomofo is what carried me through being able to do the AP Chinese test. Because interestingly enough, they are privy to the fact that people have learned Chinese in such different ways. So there are actually 4 different ways that they write out all the questions and the answers. And depending on which one you have better mastery of, you always have that to fall back on. So they had it in traditional, simplified, Bopomofo, and romanization, or pinyin, which in Chinese we usually call Hanyu pinyin. So Hanyu is like Han Chinese, where Han is, of course, the Han Dynasty Han. And then we have Yu, which means, in this context, language. Because there's also, like, Yu, which means rain, Ame in Japanese, and so on. So there's only so many sounds you can make that are unique in most, well, in a lot of languages. So having like ame be rain, having it be candy, or like kami, which is hair, paper, god. It's kind of the same thing in Chinese. well, Chinese is probably one of the worst offenders because if you've ever seen the poem, which is only words that consist of shi, whether it was shi with first accent, shi with second accent, shi with third accent, shi with fourth accent, and then the fifth one is kind of like a qingsheng. It's kind of like a light sound. This is usually, as far as I can tell, known as the fifth accent, but it's kind of like very temporal. Like they're, whereas for the first sound or the first accent, we have shi, which is like it shi, it carries on. Shi is pretty short. If you play piano or play music, the fifth accent is pretty much just a staccato sound. Versus what do they call it? Starts with an L for like a sustained note or like a fully sustained note. Okay, so we have ki, ku, ke. Can we rewrite that? Ke, ko. Narwhal, na, ni, nu, ne, no, ma, it's happening again. It's always these M's. Me, mo, math. I had the same realization yesterday too. Ra, ri, ru, de, ro, wa, wo. So for dinner tonight, I had I had a baked rigatoni. So that was really nice. I think I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. When it comes to international cuisine, if there's a single cuisine that I absolutely will put on my top 3, it would be Italian. Coming from an Asian background, it's kind of hard to like choose the other two. But American cuisine is actually a contender because of how varied it can be and how familiar the taste is for me. Comfort food, that kind of stuff. But the variety is probably the biggest thing. I don't know if one would usually call like foods based on other cultures as like belonging to a certain culture itself. So like fusion foods or that kind of stuff. I'm not too big of a fan of most fusion. it is kind of interesting to think about where the line is between when something's able to actually end up being considered a certain national cuisine, even if it was borrowed. Okay, so I'm on to Genki now. Looking at which of these vocab words in chapter 1 are ones that I don't know as well. The ones that are a bit harder to remember are Gogol for PM, Golzen should be this, right? Golze, so the se, 2 dots, turns into a ze. AM. Oh, there's no hook. Okay. So this would be just this. Oh, that's so ugly. This looks almost exactly like one of the Bopomofo from Chinese. Which one was it? Yeah, I think. Alright, no, it should be... Oh yeah, it is it. Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay, then we also have Senkol. They write it as Senkoo, and as we saw yesterday, the double O signifies a extended vowel sound. So for the kol, it would be extended by adding a u or a u sound to the end. So the senkol is your course major. Sensei so desu ka. Alright, so sensei, of course, is teacher. So desu, that's right. The famous Yago line is so desu ne. Isn't that right? And then we have so desu ka. Is that so? Daigaku, college, yep. Denwa for telephone. Tomodachi for friend. Namae for name. Nan or nani for what. Nihon for Japan. Nensei. Nen is year. Sei is student, so it's literally what year student are you? We have hai for yes. Han for half. Bango for number. Ryugakusei for international student. And atashi for I. Okay, so let's learn some majors. So we have majors. I don't think I've seen any of these on Renshu so far, but that would probably be a bit further into the starter words, which I still have quite a few to go through. Okay, so we have kagaku, ka, ga. The ka turns into a ga. Ku, right? Yes. And this is science. Asia Kenkyu. Oh, Kenkyu is studies. Oh. So the romanization for Asia would be A, G. She turns into G. This is where this thing comes into play as well. So the shi turns into a ji and the chi turns into a ji, but you'll most likely see this. And same thing that's happening right here, where the shi turns into ji is probably much more readily seen than the chi turning into a ji. Right. Okay. Asia, Asia. Okay, so it's just 3 syllables. And then kenkyu. So ken, kyu, ki, yu, u. Kenkyu. So because the ki and the u become one sound, kyu, we write the u a bit smaller, and then it's another extended vowel, so I add the u to the u. Okay. So kenkyu itself, by itself, means studies, and then Asia is just Asia. Now kenkyu, there's a manga I really liked. I don't know if it was like ever published in English, called like Hamster Report, and the Japanese name included kenkyu. So I didn't actually know what the kenkyu meant until now. So it's like studies of their hamster, and it was literally like little snippets of their life with their hamsters, like pet hamsters. It was so cute. It was one of the ones that was like, yeah, I look forward to reading it every week. At least the scanlations haven't been updated in a long time, fortunately. So we have K Zai, where the KE is extended into a KEE, and I think that should be Ke, and then to extend the E, you add in an E sound, the I sound, and then za, so I need a sa, and then turn it into a za, E. Keizai. Okay, got it. Okay, awesome. And this is economics. 国際関係、国際、国際関係関係 and this is international relations. So I'm gonna see if I can break this down. So koku is country, or if you want to write it this way, I think. So this is country. Oh my gosh, the right click. Koku should be country. Kankei. Kankei, I think would be the relations part. So then sai is probably like something like that. Let me look up the kanji for this, because I think that would help break it down. Break it down. 国際関係 Wow. Oh, actually, I think I should probably put this into a Jishil. Oh, okay, no. Word Hippo's already got me. So yeah, so this is the koku, This is the simplified character for country in Chinese, but I think they picked it up for Japanese. And then we have kokusai. Right. So these two together means international. And then kankei is relationship. So that's written They have a little... Oh. That looks a bit too ugly. There we go. So they have an additional little curve here. Don't know where it comes from. It's probably a stylistic choice on the font. Okay. Kokusai kankei. Computer is just computer. Computer. Now they use the M dashes for the... So kon. So instead of a M, instead of an M sound, a lot of the time in katakana, you actually have an N sound. Okay. So the he becomes a P when you add the little circle. So that should be pew. So I have a U sound. And then they extend it. Compute. So that should be like comp sci or something. Computers. So maybe there is a rule for whether to use an M dash or like the actual letter. There's also a chance that's just the katakana thing. But I thought I'd seen it in hiragana before. Alright. So now we have Jinrui Gaku. Jinrui Gaku. So we have Jin for person, right? Or people. Rui. Ru. I. Gaku. Ka becomes a ga. Ku. And this is anthropology. My handwriting on this pad is so bad. Okay. Okay, so looking back at the science, gaku is kind of like a study of. So I would believe that, or like an ology, right? So I would believe that this gaku here is also referring to ology. And then rui, let's take a look at what the kanji is here. Jin rui gaku. Okay, so the gaku is referring to like school as well. It's they use the simplified word for school, learning, that kind of general idea. And then this rui that they have here, let's take a look at what that means. class, kind, sort, family, genus. And then jinrui means human race. Okay, so this together means human race. Jinrui, study of the human race, anthropology. I mean, if you do like, yeah, some kinds of anthropology would deal with the present day, right? So it's a general study of the human condition, or study of the, not human condition, just humanity as like a sociological class, right? Okay. Okay, this one I wouldn't recognize the kanji for, I think. Seiji, politics. Business is just business in katakana. Business, right? Yes. Business. Bungaku. This one I have seen in Renshu, at least to some degree. I've seen like the bun, which I think is actually just the word for book. Gaku. Oh wait, this gaku is the same gaku. Yeah, so it's this gaku for school, or ology, or learning, science, that kind of stuff. So book studies. And then the last one, rekishi, which I think in kanji is the same kanji as you would say in Chinese, which is 历史. So let's take a look at that. Yep. So 歴史. I think it's Reki is probably just this part. And then shi. I don't actually know what these individual characters mean, but together I know them as history. Okay, so now we'll move on to occupations. So yeah, shigoto, which is one of the ko becomes go. Shigoto. And this is job. This is one of the vocab on Renshu. I feel like, right, shigoto. Yeah. Shigoto. So this is kind of like this shi. Well, okay. This is what throws me off as well, because both of these are pronounced shi or shi in Chinese. Now, this shi I'm more familiar with because it's one of those like beginner Chinese characters to learn. And this means like work, or job, or it doesn't have to be occupational work, but it could just be work. It could also mean like business, like I'm up to some business or I have something scheduled to do. You would use this character. And in this character, the reason why it's pronounced shi is because of the right side here. So the left side is the radical for person, transformed from this character. And then the character on the right, I think generally means like knight. I don't know what the word itself means, unfortunately. Another isha. Yeah. Doctor. This is another Renshu vocab. Kaishain is also another Renshu vocab word. Kaishiya in. This is office worker. So the in refers to worker, and then the kaisha refers to office. I think 会是, right? 会是 something like that. In, I forget the character for this too. Oh no. Okay. 高校生 is high school student. 高校 I believe would mean high school, right? 高校 high school versus 大学 for college. We also have 主婦, another Renshu word, which means housewife. 大学院生 versus 大学生. So 大学院生 would be graduate student, where the in I think should probably refer to what was the right side? Graduate student. Oh wait, let me try to guess it. Something like that. Yeah, got it. This is the same character that you would see in hospital. I think it effectively means like ward, like a hospital ward, or like Tokyo ward, like you would see in like Tokyo Ghoul, for example, the 13 wards. This is also one of the characters that's used for graduate school in Chinese, which is, what was it? Oh, this was way too long ago. Wow, it's almost been 10 years since I learned this term. What was it called? I don't remember. What is graduate school in Chinese? Oh, graduate school is 研究所, which is like experimental place or studying place. 研究is study, right? And then 所 is location or place. Well, it has something to do with that. So just with the addition of the in, you can turn from college to graduate school. Okay, and then we have bengoshi. So he becomes be, go. Is it go? No, just go, shi, bengoshi, lawyer. Family, we have the usual oga-san, otou-san, onei-san, onii-san, imoto, ototo. Okay, so first grammar thing that they teach is x wa y desu. Subject, subject marker, whatever the subject is, and then the ending copula. So, for example, the example they give is gakusei desu, which only uses this part, right? So, let's break it up into two parts. So, we have the first example that Genki gives, which would just be y desu. So let's say like gakusei desu, right? So this would be school student desu, I am. Now here, the x wa is actually implied. So Japanese is a very highly contextual language. So very often the subject will be left out because it will be implied already based on context clues or explicitly in previous parts of the conversation, right? So if you wanted to be more explicit, then of course you would add the x wa. So like watashi wa ta shi wa gakusei desu. Right. So we would have x wa gakusei desu. What was kare? Kare, kanji, please. Okay. So you could also use kare wa gakusei desu. And kare would mean he, subject marker, student, and I'm gonna do quotations is because that doesn't actually directly translate to is. I think this is the only sentence structure that I currently know. Okay, and then question sentences, you just add a ka to the end. So instead of desu, you become desu ka. And then you can also add some more question terms. So if you're asking for what something is and you're not sure, so like let's say we don't know that Kade is a student, or he is a student. Kade wa desu ka? Right. When this is left kind of blank, You can fill this in with other question terms. So if you said something like nan, as they write in the book, nan would refer to what? As in like the questioning what. Written in kanji as this. So he is what would be the question here. There's some other question terms like donna, which means what kind of, dare, which is who, doko, which would be where. Depending on whatever your subject is, you could have appropriate question terms for whatever you need to know about. No is something I can't teach properly. No is very, very widely used. Slightly takes the form of the d, and what was the last d, right? In Chinese. Instead, in Japanese, we have this no. I think once you get used to how it ends up being used, it'll be much more second nature. Okay, numbers. Each ni san. Well, I always knew it as she, but apparently the more standard. Apparently the more standard way of counting would be to use yon for 4. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the teens are relatively straightforward. You just add 10 and then the singular number. So for 11 it would be 10 plus 1, so you'd say 10 for 10, ichi for 1. 10 ichi, 10 1. Then we have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then we have 20, which means 2 10s. So 20, right? So while 12 is 12, right? When you write 12, the tens place comes before the ones place. So we would have 12, right? But then we have 2 10s. So this is where it would be 20, 2 10s. Right? Okay, now we have time. So hours are ji, or in kanji it would be this, I think. And this means what hour is it? So it looks like there's just one to be careful about. So most of them follow just ichiji, niji, sanji for 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But then 4 is apparently the only exception here on a 12-hour clock system. So instead of yonji, yon for 4, you say yoji. Four o'clock. And then the rest are the same as usual. So goji, rokuji, shichiji, hachiji. Oh, instead of kyuji, it's kuji. Oh, so what would usually be Q, G is actually kuji. Another fun thing is 39. Thank you. Thank you. This is kind of an older slang. And by kind of, probably like as old as I am, or even older. Okay. Okay, So now it's just a bunch of exercises. Oh yeah, minutes are kind of hard too. 1분, 2분, 3분, 4분, 5분, 6분, 7분, 8분, 8분, 8분 or 8분 for 8 minutes, 9분 for 9, 10분 or 10분 for 10, 11분, 12분. Okay, so I think it's like for the most part, if it ends in a consonant sound, the numbers minutes will have a pun to it. So for 1 minute, we have 1분. I already realized that that's probably not the best way to go. Or is it? No, it's not. I guess it's another one where it's just like, depending on the colloquial way of pronouncing it, it's kind of evolved into ones that made logical sense within the culture. Okay, so now we have the workbook. So we have greetings. There's a girl saying hi to someone. He's yawning and it looks like it's 8 a.m. Or hachiji. Hachiji for 8 a.m. So that looks like a suit. So the greeting would be ohayo. Yo. Trying to make this not look like a ra. Katakana. Ohayo. Go za imasu. Okay, I think I need to refer to the greetings that they have listed in the textbook. Because there's a lady saying hi to someone and he's holding a bunch of bags, but I have no idea what the context is. Would this be a sumimasen? No. Oh, I think it would probably be like the arigatou gozaimasu. I'll write that for now. Ari ka becomes ga to. Go sa I mas for taking care of the bags. We have a guy saying hi to someone at night, so that would be like konbanwa. Kon ha becomes ba. Konbanwa. Ha becomes a wa when you pronounce it here. Fourth is someone calling for a waiter, so that would be sumimasen for excuse me. Sumimasen. We have someone saying thank you for the meal. You can see that their bowls are still full, so they just start eating. Ita da. Ta becomes da. Ki mas. From reading Japanese stuff more often, I did actually find that the pattern recognition gets a lot easier. So like if you see the mas enough times, then you'll just be able to glance over it and tell, oh, that said mas. The beauty of language learning. Okay, and then we have her finishing up the food, so that would be a gold chi so sama te becomes de deshita. Oh, there's no 7, is there? Oh, there is. Okay, so we have a girl heading out, so that would be eat te. So we extend the sound of the te by adding, or extend the consonant sound of the te before it by adding the tsu. Ite instead of ite. Ite ki masu. I'm heading out. And then the person saying bye to them would say ite ra. What was ra? Da. Rapper. Itara shiya. So the shi and the ya group together as the sound, so it becomes sha. Itara shai. I. Maybe I should write it the way that they usually write it. Kind of like that. So it's not, so that this isn't mistaken for a she. Itterashai. We have someone returning home. Tadaima. Ta. Da. Ta becomes da. I. Ma. And then we have okaeri for the person saying welcome home. Okaeri. Oh, each of these is separate, so this would be 8. This would be 9. This would be 10. Okay, now we have 11. A girl is introducing herself to the class for the first time, which would be a hajimemashite for how to nice to meet you, or how do you do. She becomes ji. Hajime ma shite. Right. Someone saying goodbye. So you would have, oh, it looks like a teacher saying goodbye to someone, or a lady, older lady, saying goodbye to a young boy. I'll just call this a sayonara. Nara. Sayo. Nara. We have someone saying goodnight to someone, so that would be oya sumi. And then you could also add the nasai if you want, or depending on the context. Nasai. That looks a bit too much like an for Chinese. And then we have two acquaintances running in, or friends running into each other, so that'd be just konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Ha becomes wa when you read this one out. Write the following numbers in Arabic numerals. So one we have go, 5. Zero. So that would be just 0. But it's surprising that the 0 is written in hiragana. So I guess it was like significant enough, or it carried over from Arabic numerals, the pronunciation. Actually, are 1, 2, 3, are those all Arabic pronunciations too? Or was it just the numerals that were carried over? That's a no. Oh. Well, that would be something to look up and come back for on the next stream. 9 3 7 2 6 1 8 4 16 10 is 10, and then roku is 6, so 16. 40, now we have the yon coming first before the ju, so that means 4 tens instead of 10 plus 4. So we have 40. 21, so the niju would be 20. And then we have ichi, which is 1. 14, we have 164. 100. 100 is 100. 60 would be 6 tens, so 60. Excuse me, 60. 64. 4. 164. 15. 92. Q is 9. Ju is 10, so that's 9 tens. 90, and then ni is 2, so 92. 35. Sen is 3, Jiu is 10, so 3 tens, 30, and then Go for 5. So 35. We have 17. 76. 76. So 7's tens for 70, and then Roku for 6. Then we have 18. 18. 100. 105. Oh, 157. 100 is 100. 50 would be 5 tens, so 50. 7. And we have 101. 100 for 100, and then we don't have a tens place, so we just have 1. Okay. Okay, so look at the following pictures and write the answers. 今何時ですか? And we have a 5 p.m. on here. Let's see. Gonna take a look at afternoon times in the textbook. I guess they're not looking for that. Okay. So for time and telephone numbers, we have a 5 p.m., so it'd just be 5時です. Ima nan ji desu ka? And now it shows 9 a.m., so we have 9 ji. She becomes ji. Te becomes de. Desu. 12:30. So now we have use of half. So 12 would be 10. 2 han for half. 12. What was the half? Does it go before or after the hour? Or, well, what I mean is, does it go before or after the ji? Because in Chinese, for example, 12:30 would be 12:30, which means 12 hour, and then we would say the half, 半. Okay, I'm gonna guess that comes before the ji. So let me check the textbook. Okay, so textbook says it comes after the ji. And we have han. De. De. Su. Four is 4:30. So then we have yon. Ji han. Des. Okay, so now telephone numbers. This requires classmates, so I don't have that. Alright, yeah, so I'll finish up the exercises tomorrow. I'm getting kind of tired now. So yeah, so it's nice to be streaming my language learning so that I have a bit more accountability to it. If I start earlier, then I'll probably be able to get to some drawing practice as well. And I should probably also learn some of the shortcuts for Photoshop as well. But yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. Thanks for joining in, and see you next time. Bye.